to start today off a little bit different than I normally would because I'm talking about a different team in a different situation, but we will graduate to the Yankees talk, of course. But this today's moment is definitely about the Milwaukee Brewers. Um, I would say that they really showed why they're one of the best teams in the league today. Their pitching was shut down. It was nails. They go through the whole bullpen. It doesn't matter. The Cubs can't get anyone except Seiya Suzuki gets a solo shot off Mizorowski. But other than that, I mean, the Brewers held it down. The Cubs had a few chances. They couldn't come through. And there definitely has to be some disappointment in that Cubs locker room because that was a very winnable game. You only give up 3 runs and you expect to have a chance to win that game. Similar to what the Tigers went through yesterday, although in worse fashion, giving up 2 runs in 15 innings and 14 innings and then still losing in the 15 because their offense can't form any life. And I'm going to get to the Tigers as well, but right now we're going Brewers Cubs and we're going to preview both series a little bit quickly. I'll talk more about the National League today because American League is kind of more of a tomorrow thing for me or like a Monday morning maybe. So here's what took place. The Brewers got 3 home runs tonight, and that's why they won because the Cubs only have one. And like my friends say, home runs win ball games, especially in October, and that's 100% correct because sometimes the easiest way to generate a run in October is to hit a bomb. Like you saw the Tigers, they couldn't drive a guy in unless Carpenter hit a home run. The Mariners had a different situation. They were actually driving the runs in without home runs, but at the same time, like you see the issues with the Yankees that they rely on the home runs too much, and when they don't get them, they don't win. Now the Blue Jays are interesting because they can hit the long ball, but they don't rely on it. That's the difference. Like you see a completely different situation with the Brewers than you do with the Yankees and the Cubs and the Blue Jays. Like the Blue Jays and Brewers are more fundamentally sound than the Cubs and the Yankees. And that's another thing, although the Blue Jays did have some gaffes in the series, but obviously it did not matter because they still won in 4 games. But I'm sure they'd like to clean it up a little bit against Seattle, who arguably, not arguably, to me, they've been better than the Yankees for a while, despite what the head-to-head thing would say. I really felt like the Yankees were, like this, like I said, I think they're the 7th best team out of the 8. I thought the Tigers were better than the Yankees, although you could argue that, I guess, based on certain situations. They did beat the Yankees in the series, but when I'm talking at Seattle, I'm not looking at that because I feel like their team is made up for the playoffs and their pitching is elite. Like, I know the Tigers struggled a lot, but you need to credit the Tigers' pitcher. Munoz did not have his best stuff when he still got out of it. And to me, that shows character, obviously. And I have to commend him for that because he still got through 2 innings or like 5 outs or whatever it was. So I do think that there's definitely a lot of things going on there. So I would say the Yankees are like the 7th best because I definitely think the Brewers and Dodgers are better. I thought the Phillies were probably better even though they didn't play well and they have some similar October issues than the Yankees do. But at the same time, like they have a tougher out opponent with the Dodgers also, so that definitely has to come into play, and that's like something that we'll never know. Obviously, it's kind of just like your thoughts of like what would happen if these teams play each other, but the Brewers, I mean, Mizorowski's unbelievable. Despite the home run he gave up, he goes 4 innings, gives up 1 run, strikes out 3 after his great performance in, I believe it was game 2. Miz is special. He's going to be a big part of the rotation for years to come. And that's definitely going to be a problem for many NL Central teams, including the Cubs. Uribe was great to close out the game. The Cubs didn't touch him. I think he walked 1 guy, and that was it. So you look at the situations that took place, and that's kind of like what happened there. The Cubs pitching, it was okay. Pomeranz gets touched up early by Contreras. Wasn't too surprised by that. And then, obviously, Sarang and Andrew Vaughn. Like, let's take a minute for Andrew Vaughn here. Like, This guy was on the scrap heap in the worst team in baseball, the worst team in the league besides the Rockies, or bottom five, or however you want to classify this. They do not want him. And that just shows his career was at rock bottom. It was on life support. This guy was the third overall pick, and the Brewers tapped into something. Maybe they made him like baseball again because it didn't seem like he was enjoying his time in Chicago too much. But at the same time, that's like that's what it's all about. I mean, the Brewers are great at getting guys that other people don't see value in, maximizing them, and turning them into studs. Like it's almost like the Tampa Bay Rays model in a little bit of a sense. It's kind of like what the Guardians do sometimes, and I just think that like what they're doing is definitely something that other teams will try to replicate, but it's very hard to be successful when you have certain budgetary restraints. But the Brewers make it work. So I got oh, yep, the Cubs lost for sure. And the Cubs kind of were fraudulent all year. I mean, to be honest, like after they got through that good first half, they were kind of holding on the second half. They had a big lead against the Brewers. The Brewers ran them down. So I can't say I'm too surprised with the result, but I do think that the Cubs could have shown more fight, and they just didn't have the quality at bats that people were looking for. So that's definitely an issue in itself. But more importantly, like take a look at the situation now. What's going on with the Yankees? So the Yankees need to sign Kyle Tucker. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to get it done. I'm not going to switch the title things right now. I mean, I guess I could, whatever. Hold up. Give me a minute. Sorry, everyone. Bear with me here. I'm not going to go super long today, but I do want to get my points across and like tell you what I think of the NLCS and the ALCS. So Kyle Tucker is going to be a free agent. His numbers were not like what you would hope probably in a free agent year. Like for a guy like him, you would definitely want it to be better. But at the same time, you got to factor in a couple things. One, he was hurt. Two, Wrigley Field is not forgiving the lefties, and you saw what Bellinger did when he was able to come over. And he still got 22, 73 RBI, 91 runs, 25 steals, and OPS was like in the 840 range, I want to say. Yeah, somewhere in the 840 range. Let me check how many games he played because I just think the Yankees have to sign him, and I'll get to why. And it's nothing against Bellinger, but Kyle Tucker is still the better player. He's proven it more over time. He's younger. He has a gold glove. I know we talk about Belly's defense. Tucker's four-time All-Star. He did win the ring with Houston. I know his playoff numbers are a little bit uneven, but does that? Why should that stop them? Look at everyone else on the team. But he still helped them win a ring. I don't care if he was the third or fourth best player. He was still on the team, and that means something to me. And he had 500 at bats, so he didn't get his full 600 plus. He missed about 26 games. So if he played the 26 games, the numbers probably look better. And you obviously have to factor that in. Now, I want to try to get to Baseball Savant to see where he would rank if he was in the Yankees, and how many home runs he would have if he was a Yankee. So let's check to see how that looks. So let's check to see how that looks really quick. Good old Baseball Savant. I remember Bellinger's spray chart looked so good last year when I was talking about the Yankees bringing in Bellinger. And it's not that like I wouldn't want Bellinger back because he was good. I know the postseason he may have been banged up and he did struggle, but that's not the reason why I wouldn't want him to return. The reason why I wouldn't want him to return is a couple reasons. One, it prevents him winning Kyle Tucker, which I think is the most important thing to do. Two, if you're gonna pay him $30 million, why not just spend an extra 10 on a better player? If it's gonna be 30 compared to 40 AAV, and Tucker's spray chart kind of looks good for Yankee Stadium too. A lot of pull action, a little bit opposite field, so he's not a dead pull, but it's very much pull. Let me try to see like if I most of his home runs this year. I think I only see like, I'm not sure if one of these is a bomb. It looks kind of weird, but I think I see like 7 to center oppo and 15 pull home runs, I suppose. Oh no, actually, he only pulled. He only. I'm sorry, 21 pull side homers and one oppo. So that's a guy that profiles really well at the Yankee Stadium to me. He pulls the ball. He hits the ball in the air 64% of the time in his career. 66 this year. Pulls it 45. Straight 33 oppo 20. So he's not like dead pull, but like when he hits the ball over the fence, it's probably going to be a pull. So if he was at Yankee Stadium this year, oh, what do you know? He would have 7 more home runs and he would have had 29 bombs. So I think that is worth investing into. I really do. So here's the thing. Will Hal pay the money to go get him? I have no idea, but he should because think about this. He needs Aaron Judge needs a Robin. He doesn't have it anymore. You can't just say playoff Stanton, get him ready for the playoffs. That's what happened this year. Those days might be dead. Stanton's getting up there in age. He's a DH. He gets injured all the time. He may have been banked up in October again. It's not an excuse, but it's very possible because how much he gets banged up. I think he fouled the ball off his foot or something. So he did not look right all October. We have to acknowledge that, and there needs to be course correction here. You cannot just run back the same thing that has failed for now 16 years in a row of not winning the World Series. Although, if you want to get more specific, which I have, if you break it down to 2018 since Aaron Boone came on board, what has happened in that time? 2018, get embarrassed by your arch rival, the Boston Red Sox, best team in the league, freight train. You know what? Look, it was tough, but like the Red Sox were world beaters that year. 2019, Altuve situation, Chapman. You actually steal the first game in Houston. Stanton gets hurt. You had a 2-1 lead, and Ottavino blows it, and they never recovered. So then you go to 2020. I barely count that, but they did lose to Tampa Bay. And Mike Brissell hit a bomb off Chapman in Petco Park. It was weird. 2021, then you had the situation. You get embarrassed by Boston again in the playoffs at the wild card. You had an awful roster, one of the worst playoff rosters I've ever seen. And then Garrett Cole's injured, so you had no shot that year. 2022, they get swept by the Astros. Astros celebrate in their field. 2018, Red Sox celebrate in their fields. 2021, Red Sox just won the wild card, so that wasn't that big of a deal. 2023, they missed the playoffs. Last year, Dodgers celebrate on their fields in the embarrassing Game 5 debacle. And then 2025, the Blue Jays celebrate on their field. So how many times does that need to take place until they make a move at the top? And that involves everything. I don't need to say all this stuff. I don't need to say names, but everyone knows who I'm talking about here. That involves top to bottom, stripping it down, getting a new analytics department, manager, GM, all of it, and just starting from scratch because this system is flawed and it's not a crapshoot. It's not a oops, sorry, we didn't do it. There's no excuses for it. The Blue Jays were better all year. And the other problem is that they're going to waste the prime at Judge pretty soon. I know he's still great. He might win the MVP again, and he probably should. Will he? I don't know the whole Cal Raleigh thing, but you can make a great argument for Judge, obviously. You can make a great argument for Cal. But that's not really the point of my conversation here because even if Judge doesn't win the MVP, he still had an MVP-type season again. And he definitely should have won in 2017. So he could be a 4-time MVP potentially. And they're wasting it. They made the World Series once, and the main part of the reason why they made the World Series was not Judge. Stanton played a big part, don't get me wrong, but the guy that's in Queens now, Juan Soto, was the main part of the reason. Now with Soto, I'm not trying to be a dead horse. Obviously, the Yankees did not get him back, and if they did, things would be a lot different. Do you have a Max Fried? I don't know. I heard you would have, but conflicting stuff there. You probably don't have Paul Goldschmidt. That would have been fine. You don't have Bellinger. If you had Soto, that would have been fine. Judge would have been playing center. Maybe that's not fine. But still, Soto's lineup presence, the way he takes pitches, the way he works pitchers, the way he has a cool heartbeat in October is something that no one else in the Yankees really has Besides this season, Aaron Judge did step up in the playoffs. Aaron Judge has no blame in what happened. There was one bad at bat against Kevin Gausman, and another time he swung the ball four. But other than that, he was perfect. 500 average. I mean, what more can you ask for? A big home run off Louis Varland to tie it, just to get wasted the next day. And that's another thing with Judge. He has these big moments that get wasted, like the home run against Verlander or whatever. Like that was a huge home run, but they don't hold on. And then you look at the situation with Cleveland and Clase. He hits a big home run, but it gets blown later on. And that's out of his control. But at the same time, those things don't get remembered because the Yankees didn't win those games, except the one game three. But it didn't matter because they lost the next day. So that's where I'm going to begin my Yankees offseason assessment. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but everyone needs to know that the Yankees need to get Kyle Tucker. There's no reason not to get him. I'll go through his career numbers if you want more assurances. He's a 5-tool player. He has good speed. He has stolen 119 bases in his career. He has, I don't know, 147 bombs, 273 average, which is really the second best average on the team right now, honestly. And Bellinger had a good average too, but he doesn't hit the ball as hard as Tucker. That's another thing. Bellinger's more likely to regress because he relies on Babbage sometimes. You don't want to do that, but he was good this year for the Yankees, and his defensive versatility is great. On base, 358 career. That's really good. 377 this year. Slug 507. That's good. OPS 865. OPS plus 140. So that's a great player. His best season came in 2023 and 2022. He had 3 seasons of 5 WAR and above from 21 to 23. 22, he wins the series. 30 bombs, 29 bombs, 92 RBIs, 107 RBI, 112 RBI. OPS 917, 808 a little bit down, but still a good year because of defense and whatnot, I guess. And then 2023 at 886. Last year in just 78 games, he had a 993 and 23 homers and 49 RBI. And he does have a 30 stolen base season, just missed a 30-30 that year. I mean, what are we doing here? His swing is made for Yankee Stadium. They need someone to try to help replace the loss of Soto, which they didn't do properly this year. I'm not saying Tucker's Juan Soto, but he's the closest thing you're gonna find on the open market to Juan Soto. And tell me, and then here's another option. Tell me who else they would get that would come close to Kyle Tucker this offseason. I'm going to be waiting for that response for a while because there's really no other response. So, look, they got to go get him. If it's 10 for 400, so be it. If it's 12 for 440 or 480, so be it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. They need to spend the money and get him and stop settling. The thing came out, and this is old news, and I knew this because I actually read the book. The Inside the Empire by Bob Clafford, great friend of mine, great reporter, NJ.com. Everyone check him out. And people that say he's not reliable, that's a bunch of crap because he's extremely reliable. He's told me a lot of good information that's always been true. So you look at that. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because Bob said something that was very eye-opening back when I read this book in 2018 or 2019 or whenever he published it. He said that the Yankees were going to go get Justin Verlander. The year that they got Sonny Gray instead, Verlander goes to the Astros. He helps them beat the Yankees. So they were going to do it, but Hal didn't want to go over the tax. And that's a fact. It's not about the decline. It's not about they thought Gray was better. It was a money move. And if they do the same thing here with Bellinger and Tucker, it's going to be a mistake. And we can play this back when all this happens, if it happens, and see how this progresses. And I guarantee you I'm going to be right. And I was right the whole year. I never thought the Yankees were a serious team. I never thought they would win a World Series. I said their ceiling was the DS or the CS, and I was proven right. I didn't trust the offense in October. The pitching I was concerned with in certain areas, and that kind of reared its ugly head. But the one thing I did not account for, there was 2 things here that I have to admit I did not account for. The first one is Cam Schlittler's emergence. I mean, I saw he was killing on the farm, but I never thought he was going to be that great that soon for the Yankees, throwing 100 plus and with a few good breaking pitches too. Honestly, that was a godsend. But the fact the Yankees wasted that is even rougher because that was not expected to happen, and they wasted a great start from him against Toronto. I don't need to go through what happened because everyone knows. But Cam is going to be a future frontline guy. He's a guy that you could even start him. I'll say this now. You could even start him in a game in a game two of the season next year, and you could be completely fine with that. If you split the lefties with Rodon, Freed, and then you go Schwittler, then you can easily manage that. I think that he's earned the opportunity to have that right. At least to be the third starter, the worst behind them. I think that's reasonable as well. And I just think like the Yankees just have to do it. Like they just have to figure this thing out. Like they gotta get they gotta get Tucker. Like that's all there is to it. But which we're like, yeah, great season, very impressive. Future is extremely bright for him. So I would say like that's what needs to happen. So if you want to look at a pitching move, like do you try to trade for a Joe Ryan? I think I teased that the other day. Um, so so that's like something I would look into. Obviously, it's not going to be cheap. Do you try for Pablo Lopez? Won't cost as much, could help stabilize the rotation, but you're gonna have to pay him money, and the Twins will eat some of it probably. That's an option for sure. And then like you lastly look at the situation like with the bullpen. The bullpen needs a lot of work. Are you gonna bring back Luke and Devin? I don't know. I would bring back Devin, but I don't know if that's gonna work. I know he made nice at the end. He said he will return, but that could just be semantics to make his market look better. He might go to the Dodgers. You know, he did think he was gonna get traded there, and and then you look at the other thing with like Weaver. It's a tough one because he was such a good Yankee, but he was really bad down the stretch and he costed them. You could maybe get him to crawl back with like a small deal, but he did say he wanted to be a starting pitcher, and that's not something the Yankees should experiment with. He was a terrible starting pitcher. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm sorry, Luke, but you were not a good starting pitcher. Clay Holmes didn't really do it as much. Luke Weaver, he was on the verge of being out of the league because he was such a bad starting pitcher. I don't think the Yankees should be experimenting with that next year. I really don't. So if he wants to do that, then you're gonna have to move on. So that's the thing. You have Fernando under control. You have Bednar Duval. Can you fix Jake Bird? Tim Hill should be back on the club option. Hopefully, got to let Weisiga go. You got to add like two or three arms in there, especially if Devin and Luke leave. I think Leiter Jr.'s kind of seen his time come and go. Ian Hamilton, same situation. Could you trade? Could you take a shot with Yeri again next year? Sure. Um, so that's like a situation that like is going to be very complex and have a lot of layers to it. I talked about the Glacius on the last show with Rocky. I do think that's definitely in play. So I think that Rachel Iglesias is a perfect fit for the Yankees. He can take some late inning leverage spots. The Yankees were in on him at the deadline apparently, so I wouldn't rule that out. I think there's a slight chance that could happen, but you never know. So you never know. But um, at the same time, like honestly speaking, I just think that they need to evaluate a lot of stuff, and I just don't trust the people in charge anymore. I really don't. But okay, looks like we are running down the time. Unfortunately, let's see. Oh well, I have a little bit more. So here's how I'm gonna end this. This is what I'm gonna do. All right, so I think the Brewers can upset the Dodgers. I don't know who they're gonna pitch in Game One. I think the Dodgers will have. Is it Yamamoto ready? Who pitched? Oh, Yamamoto was Game Four, I think. Let me just check this really quick before I go. And then I do think the Mariners are in a bad spot because of how they wasted their bullpen against the Tigers. But on the bright side of that, Brian Wu might return. So if he returns and he's anywhere close to what he was for the majority of the season, that's going to be a big difference maker for the Mariners. Here's what the Mariners have to do. I'm not going to say punt game one because that doesn't make sense really, but if you see the writing on the wall, don't use your high arms. Like you use all of them. Like Bryce Miller on 3 days rest is not a good situation. He's the worst starting on their staff right now. Last year he was nails, but this year he's not. And Kevin Gausman gets the ball for Toronto. He's been outstanding. He really shut the Yankees down. And then I'm trying to see. I gotta check really quick. I think it should have been Yamamoto. Oh, Tani was going to go game five, so it's probably Shohei. There we go. Yamamoto did pitch. Right, yeah, he did. So, or was it Glass now, actually? I don't even know. Yeah, it was Glass now. My bad there. So, Yamamoto must have went game three, duh. Or two, I guess. But either way, like, honestly, I I think they'll start with Otani, I guess, and they'll have Yamamoto was game three and the Dodgers lost. Okay, got it. Yep, that makes sense. He got a little roughed up, so it's gonna be Shohei game one against whoever the Brewers are gonna use. Maybe Priester if they don't use an opener. Yeah, Yamamoto didn't really have it that day. But regardless, like I do see a path for the Brewers to win because they have the home field. They just sweep the Dodgers, and also I really want to see different teams in the World Series. So I'm gonna say the Brewers win in seven or six. You know what? Let's go crazy and say they win in 7 games. They split the first two, then they go down. Then they're gonna go down. Then they're gonna be up 3 games to two. They'll win two in LA, and or they might just be an all home team situation. But I'll say they split the first two. They win two in LA, and then they win a game seven. If I go to Seattle and Toronto, um, Toronto has Gosman and Savage the first 2 games. Savage was deadly against the Yankees. Can the Mariners figure something out against him? We'll see. Can Cal Raleigh do a little bit more? We'll see. After okay, sorry, I'm back. I'm gonna end this on my phone. Also running low, but okay. So I think what happens is the Blue Jays go up 2 games to none because I don't even know who the Mariners will pitch in the game two. I guess Castillo, but I don't really trust him still. I think the Blue Jays go up 2-0. The Mariners get 2 games in Toronto and at home. Maybe Wu and Gilbert out there. They get those. And then they come back to Toronto and they lose in 6 games. So I think you see a Blue Jays and Brewers World Series. And I'm going to say the Brewers win. So we'll ride the Brew Crew for now. I think like they have a lot of good components with pitching and timely hitting. They make contact too. They have some guys that get the ball out of the yard. They run. They sacrifice. Like they do all the stuff you would want them to do to win playoff games. But the Blue Jays are very similar. So if they did play each other, it would be very interesting to see what would happen because they both don't strike out a lot, but they both can hit the ball out of the yard. They both been pitching really well. So that would be interesting. Ratings would be a nightmare there. So I think this World Series that the league probably wants, you'd have to think Dodgers Blue Jays because you have 3 countries involved here. You'd have Canada involved, obviously. You would have the U.S. involved, and then Asia because of the Japan because of all the Japanese players on the Dodgers. The worst case scenario for them is what I just laid out, probably. Actually, no. I would say Mariners Brewers probably worse because Toronto probably gets you the Canada ratings, and they still have some fans in the U.S. The Mariners, like, if you're not out in Seattle, no one's a Mariners fan. Milwaukee, same situation. You're not in Milwaukee, no one's a Brewers fan. The Dodgers have fans across the nation. The Blue Jays have fans in two nations. So that's how I would look at that. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. Tomorrow starts game one with the Mariners and the Blue Jays. So here's what I'm going to do. Well, tomorrow is my birthday, so I take a day off. Forgive me, please. But I think Monday I'll probably come back with maybe my reaction to game one and then like a deeper Yankees off-season dive. Like I just kind of scratched the surface today, but you guys or everyone listening could at least know like what my general thoughts are with that at least, and then we can go off that going forward. So thanks everyone for checking in. I do appreciate it. Sub to the channel, Julian Gallardi on YouTube. X is Julian Gallardi 1, and Instagram is Julian Gallardi 11. If you look across Facebook and TikTok and search my name, you'll find more baseball content. Also, follow World Baseball Network on every platform and Latino Sports because I do a lot of work on those platforms as well. So, thanks everyone. We'll see how this goes forward, but I'll be back Monday most likely.